So when you're talking about how you can try to make money off your invention, there are three basic approaches you can take. You can make it and sell it yourself. You can sell your patent rights to someone, which is called an assignment, or you can license your patent rights, which is more of a rental of your patent rights. Let's go over each one of these individually. If you're going to make it and sell it yourself, there are certain advantages and disadvantages of that approach. The first advantage is that you retain complete control over the process. In other words, if you're an inventor who is really, really picky about how well you want your product to look and the quality that you really want it to have and the appearance and the marketing, if you really want control over all those things, you're probably going to be much happier making it yourself than either assigning your patent rights to somebody or licensing the rights to somebody else. So if you make it yourself, it's great. You retain complete control. You get to keep all the profits, but you also have to pay for everything and you have to control everything, which can be somewhat daunting. Let's go through the process of making an item and selling it, just so you get an idea of what may be involved. So presuming that you get it made in China, which is the cheapest place to have high quality products for most types of industries made these days. Now, this is going to change within the next 5 years, and we really want to keep an eye south of the border in Mexico, particularly if gas prices remain high, because the cost of manufacturing relative to the cost of shipping is going to be very important if gas prices continue to rise. So anyway, keep an eye on Mexico, but right now you want to get a good quality product made. You can't beat China. So let's say you have it made in China. Well, you have to have a factory set up in China. You set up the factory in China. The Chinese factory is going to want some money up front to set up the assembly lines. Once the product is made, they're going to want more money before the product leaves the factory, and then they're going to want the final third of the money before the product leaves Hong Kong, probably. Anyway, so somebody has to come up with the money, and if you're the one who's making it and selling it yourself, that somebody is you. You're going to have to come up with the money, which is why you might want to look for outside investment. Let's say you get the product made in China, it's put on a truck, brought through the border into Hong Kong at Lo Wu. For those of you who've ever had the pleasure of crossing that border, which I have a few too many times, you can go back to the Cold War era and see, you can still see the guard towers guarding the moat between Hong Kong and China. Anyway, the truck makes it through, delivers the container to a freight forwarder who's in charge of putting the container on the right boat. The boat then comes across the Pacific. Now, the speed of the boat is dependent upon the amount that you pay and the size and power of the boat. There are fast boats and slow boats. Fast boats used to make it over here in a little under 2 weeks, depending on weather, of course, and slow boats a little over 3 weeks. Now, with the gas prices going up, boats run kind of like cars. They run better, more efficiently at slower speeds. So a fast boat will make it over here from Hong Kong to Long Beach in closer to 3 weeks now. Slow boat a little bit over a month. So you're spending a little bit more time in transit, and again, keep in the back of your mind as an inventor, if you've already paid for the product, the longer that product sits in the Pacific Ocean, the longer you're having to wait until you get paid for it. So anyway, transportation is becoming more and more of an issue, which is why a lot of people are beginning to look south to our border, south of our border to Mexico right now as a manufacturing location, because it's a heck of a lot quicker to put a container on a truck and bring it across the border from Monterey than it is to put it on a ship and bring it over from Hong Kong. Anyway though, so it gets on the freight forwarder, the freight forwarder puts it on the right boat, the boat takes it across, it gets through customs at Long Beach. Once it gets through customs at Long Beach, you have to get it to the retailer. Now, some retailers like you to send the entire container to their headquarters. They then break it down and send it out by truck to the individual stores. Other retailers like you to break it down and ship it out by DHL or FedEx or UPS to the individual stores. Now, if that happens, you're going to have a warehouse set up, probably Long Beach or El Segundo if you bring things in by freight. Just offhand, you can bring things in by air freight too, but it's horribly, horribly expensive, so you really want to avoid that. Try to ship everything by ocean if you can, and I hope the sun comes out. I don't want to have to reshoot this again. Oh, thank you. So anyway, you've gotten it through customs, you've got it to the retailer then gets it to the store where it's sold. Now, most of the stores want to pay you under what are called net terms, which means that they don't pay you when the product arrives, they pay you a certain number of days after it arrives to give them a chance to sell it. Since they're marking it up 100%, if they sell half the product and they send you the money for for the entire shipment, they've broken even. So they aim for net terms, usually net 30, net 60, net 45, which means they pay you, say with net 45 terms, they pay you 45 days after the shipment arrives. Not all the big retailers are very good about paying on time. So, you know, you might want to add a little fudge factor to that figure. You're not exactly going to get paid on time. So anyway, when you're dealing with the retailers, that opens up another entire area of responsibility that falls on your shoulders. You have to have packaging just perfect. The larger the retailer, the more strict they are about their packaging requirements usually, to the point where they want the barcodes in a certain place, they want the packages a certain size, the master carton with a certain number of inner cartons, the inner carton with a certain number of items in each inner carton. They have to be arranged a certain way, the packaging has to be a certain way, they have to be a certain size to fit on that shelf. And if you violate the terms, such as a late shipment, or you have the wrong combination of inner and outer cartons, there's a fine. It's already written into the contract, so basically you're docked money. Dealing with the retailers, again, is not the easiest thing in the world, so it's something where if you're going to take this on yourself, this better not be your third job after your day job and then your nighttime job, because you're not going to get it done very well. So with the retailers, the other thing is that oftentimes they'll want additional money. So there's something called price protection, which is if you sell it to store A at $1 and then later on they find out you sold it to store B for 90 cents, store A is going to want that dime back. There's also advertising allowances, where if they mount an advertising campaign based on your product, they're going to want you to contribute to it. There's also product placement surcharges. So for example, if you want your product to be displayed on an end cap where it's going to get more visibility than on a regular shelf, you usually have to pay extra for it. These are all things that you have to work out with the retail store. And again, the larger the retail store and the smaller you are, the more likely you are to basically be told, you want to do business with us, this is the way it goes. So anyway, just keep in mind that dealing with the big retailers is not the easiest thing in the world sometimes. At the same time, if you can sell your product through a large retailer who has nationwide stores and they have nationwide advertising campaigns, they're probably going to sell an awful lot more than you're going to sell out of your garage through the internet. So keep that in mind.